Hey, sorry, now I can say hey. Mr. Hayes back. Learning card number 4. I know, it's hard to believe. We're up to learning card 4. We do the learning card for real life adventure problems, as I like to call them. You can call them word problems if you want, but, real apps are better. RLAP. Um, One of the hardest things about word problems, real life adventure problems, is that you can do them a variety of different ways. In a lot of ways, they're kind of nuanced, so it's almost more like an art than actually just do this. So I'm going to walk through a couple of different strategies that you may want to take care of, give you a couple of options, and then show you an example of it. So strategies for solving problems. First of all, highlight the key information. What's the important stuff? Now, obviously, you may not have highlighters or be able to use highlighters on a test. On some of those standardized tests, you can't do that. However, you can bring different color pens and pencils on that. So you may want to do that. At the very least, underline it. So like here in our problem, Nicholas uses Uber and budgets $175 for it. Okay, that sounds pretty important. He figures the average ride costs $9 each. Now remember, when you see the word each or of or per or things like that, a lot of times that's key for saying that it can happen more than once. We'll talk more about that when we get down to the bottom. And he has already spent $95, got to color that in a little bit more, I suppose. He's already spent $95 this month on rides. How many more rides can Nicholas afford this month? So that's just, what we're doing. Number 2, this is the part where a lot of times people will fall down on. Determine what you need to find. And that's always going to be asked. Answer the question that's being asked. Don't answer the question that you think, oh, this is going to lead me to it. That's not going to do any good. So like in this case right here, how many more rides? That's the important part. Number 3, it's not going to be a case here. Sometimes you may find it, draw a picture to organize it. This is more for, triangles, rectangles, etc. So more of a geometry type of thing. This example is not that, but I would be remiss if I didn't write that down. And if all else fails, guess and check. Actually, intelligently guess and check. Now, one thing I'm going to show you here is the way that I set this up. I kind of stumbled upon this before I finished out there, after I finished the learning card. So I probably would have made this number 5. But those strategies are still going to work. The one thing that I'm going to start, most of these problems are going to have a starting point and they're going to have an ending point. I also call this like the goal. In this case, it's the end of the month for Nicholas, but you just have a goal. And the starting point and the ending point are both fixed. They're not going to change. So like in this case here, notice, he budgets $170 for the month. Okay, so that's going to go here. Most of the time, the goal is a total. It's everything that's there. It's going to be by itself. The other thing is the starting point is also often a fixed point. So like here, he's already spent $95. That's not going to change. He spent it. It's gone. He's not going to spend any more yet. He can't spend any less. And that's your starting point. So then the question is, in between the two is the how. And that's where this comes in, where you starting to see words like each, per. That means that it's going to change, it's variable. And so like in this case here, $9 per ride. Now another thing that I do oftentimes is I don't use variables right away, because if I do that, 2 things happen. Oftentimes, I get confused. You can get confused with where the information is coming off, and then sometimes you can also forget what the variable represents. Some people, actually, I would sometimes even solve it out like this. I know for many of you guys, it might be easier. Sorry, guys in the non-gender specific sense of the word. A lot of you students out there would do something like the following. You can go ahead and change this down to like an X or an R. But by writing it out here in English, you automatically know, oh, the variable is going to be rides. And so that problem of remembering what your labels are sometimes isn't as great this way. And then from here, you just solve it. Because once you get it to this point, I'm guessing most of you guys kicked it on that last quiz. I would hope so. So then I'm going to get, what, 0 and 80. And then you're going to divide through by 9. Now this also brings up a very good point here. So if I multiply this or divide this out, I am going to get 8.9. Technically 8.8 repeating. Let's call it what it is. So this is actually going to be bonus match the rounding to the context of the problem. So like in this case here, he has $175 to do this ride. Okay. Now, could he probably get 9 rides out of this? Yes. However, he doesn't have $9 for that last ride. So we are going to say Nicholas can pay for 8 rides. Okay. Now there may be other times that even if you do like a rounding thing, you might get an answer of like 2.3 and you would have to round it up to 3. Okay. You can't buy 2.3s of pizza. You're going to need to buy a third pizza. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. You now have something that you can refer back to. If you have any questions, please stop by, and I will see you next time in class. Oh, and by the way, the secret word is potato.